On this edition of City Profile, we'll be talking about two upcoming events in the City of Paducah. Please stay with us. Hello and welcome to City Profile. I'm Tom Butler, and we have a real treat for today's show. We've got some of my favorite folks back again. May be familiar if our viewers watch City Profile very much, they will recognize Andrew Corner, Dr. Bernice Belt, and Martha Argoete. Welcome to the show today.
Thanks for having us back, Tom.
Thank you.
We are here today to talk about and promote two upcoming events sponsored by the Paducah Human Rights Commission. But before we do that, Andrew, why don't you tell us a little bit about the commission, its members, what your mission and goals are, and just give the viewer who may not be familiar with what the commission's all about some information about that.
Be glad to, Tom. The Paducah Human Rights Commission is a group, is all volunteer group. It's enabled by city ordinance from the City of Paducah. And what we do is we look at cases or hear complaints about discrimination in housing, employment, and public facilities. Like I said, we're an all-volunteer commission. There are 6 of us, Dr. Belt, Ms. Argoete, the principal of Paducah Dillman High School, Art Davis is on the commission, Attorney Lanny King, and Reverend Mark Rowe. We meet quarterly at City Hall. We have a full-time office at City Hall, so if anybody out there, if you're out there, you think you have a complaint regarding housing, public facilities, and employment, please stop by City Hall. We can take care of you. We're there 8:30 to 4:30, so we do have a full-time presence in City Hall.
Okay. You talked about discrimination in housing and things like that. What does that really mean?
Well, the situation, Tom, would be, for example, if someone tries to rent an apartment and they feel that because the landlord has made certain comments to them or other people have rented there similar to them and they're not being able to rent there, that they've been discriminated against. They may come to us and say, here's the situation, I feel like I've been discriminated against based on either my race, color, gender, age, national origin, something like that. And we'll have them file a complaint. We'll look into it, see if the complaint has what's called probable cause, or if there's a reason to believe that there's discrimination in the situation, and we will work with the person and the landlord to see if we can get the problem resolved.
No.
One thing I want to make real clear is the Paducah Human Rights Commission, if people come to us and they want compensation for what they believe their injury is, now by ordinance we're not able to do that for them. Basically what we can do is mediate a situation and get to what we think would be a reasonable solution to the situation.
So if they wanted compensation, they would have to hire a private attorney to take that through the legal system?
Correct, or they could go to the State Human Rights Commission, who could then proceed down the compensation for injury pathway. The state can do that, but the local people, we can't.
And just to be clear, it's not necessarily discrimination if someone denies you housing. Is that true?
No, correct. If there's reasons, non-gender, non-race, non-religion reasons to not allow you to have an apartment, not allow you or not hire you, and not allow you to come into a restaurant or a public facility, sure, there are plenty of those out there, but that's not necessarily discrimination. Not every case we handle ends up being a discrimination case.
I would gather that many folks don't really think about discrimination in our town very much anymore. Just give me an idea of the number of cases that you might have during a year.
Well, during a year, Tom, we will probably have anywhere from 12 to 20 complaints. Some of those are handled simply by talking to the parties involved and resolving them mediation style. But most of them, believe it or not, Tom, most of them that we get filed, they're really just people who have a complaint about the way they were treated, and there may not be any discriminatory practice involved in that. So we'll handle anywhere from 12 to 20 cases a year and look at those kind of situations. I'm lucky to have another attorney on the commission with me, along with some very bright people that can help us kind of weed out the fact from the fiction.
Well, let's bring in those bright people just for a second. Dr. Belt, what do you see as your role on the Human Rights Commission?
Well, I think our roles, each of our roles, are multifaceted. We have great diversity on the board, and yet within that diversity, and if I may say it this way, as my daddy would say it, we have diversities of diversity. So we all bring something to the table, and we're all primarily very compassionate people who have a genuine concern about the lives and the needs of the people in our community. At the very same time, I think that we all have our own way of being very firm about our mission. We're very, we have to stand on our mission, because it's very important that we are well defined, and it's also very important that we help people to know what they have available to them, and then how they can be referred to other organizations. Also, I'll say this, that as women and men of different race, ethnicity, and backgrounds, what we do is we have something for everyone in terms of our ability to listen, to understand, to sympathize. Each one of us, whether we are attorneys or educators, personnel specialists, what we do is we make sure that, first of all, we have to listen, because people don't know if they are talking to the right folk until the folk have listened real well. And often what we do is we mediate, sometimes right there on the telephone, sometimes one-on-one. People stop us in Walmart, and they stop us in the mall and restaurants and talk to us. And so we are a sounding board, and then after we know the details of circumstances and situations, then we know what to do to help people. And people, all they know is they hurt and they need help. We hurt, we need help. What can you do for us? And so we all have the same dual roles, actually, to help people.
Martha, Dr. Belt mentioned diversity on the commission. How important is that to you? Do you think that's a big deal?
Well, it is, and the diversity is because it's within our own community. You know, we meet with people from all walks of life, from all professions. You can feel discriminated against in a variety of situations. So it's not just an ethnic, it could be, you know, race, it could be age. So it is very important because we see it every day, we live it, and that's what we're there for. We're there to, like Dr. Belt said, is to listen, to be that sounding board.
It seems like to me, if I went in and had a complaint and I saw a face that looked like mine, it might make me feel a little bit more comfortable. So,
When we're proud of that diversity. I mean, we have Hispanic, we have 3 African Americans on the commission, we have 2, as I like to call us, Lanny King and I are Appalachian Americans, you know, from Kentucky. So we are diverse, we're proud of that. We think we reflect the community in that regard.
now, something that I think is getting more and more prevalent, when I think of discrimination, I typically think of racial discrimination, but that's not all you deal with. And as I age, and I'm getting up there now,
Right.
I know that there is, in some cases, age discrimination. Have you ever
Yes.
dealt with anything that you thought was a case of age discrimination?
We deal with age discrimination, Tom, between the ages of 40 and 70. That's where our ordinance kicks in. There are, most of the time you'll see that in a dual situation. People will have a discrimination complaint based upon the fact they're a certain age and they've been denied employment. You'll see it mostly in the employment scenario situation. And it's incumbent on the employer to be sensitive about those kind of things. And we have looked at some of those situations, but oftentimes there are other reasons why the person didn't get hired. So we do see it quite often, and we will probably see it more often as our generation gets older and we live longer. So that's a hot topic in the discrimination area.
And I know I'm on the very end of the baby boom, so I know that there's going to be a large number of folks getting older and retiring, and also possibly being discriminated against because of their age. So it's good that there is a place to go if you feel like you've been discriminated against. And one of the things that the commission is doing coming up in April is a luncheon. And this is, I believe we said, the 14th annual Fair Housing Luncheon.
That's right, Tom.
And I'm really not familiar with this, so who would like to give me an overview of the Fair Housing Luncheon?
I don't mind starting, and I'll hand it off to my friends here. But every year we have a Fair Housing Luncheon to basically celebrate and emphasize what the area has done regarding progress in fair housing, and to put it on people's minds, keep it on the forefront that fair housing is an important thing to Paducah. Fair housing is an important thing to Paducah Human Rights Commission, and it's important to the citizens of Paducah, because to be able to go somewhere, to rent a house, to buy a house, to get the financing for a house and be treated equally and fairly is important to us in the city. And that's what this luncheon does. We've had some great speakers in the past, bankers, we've had housing people. Last year we gave an award to a group from Tillman that actually builds a house and donates it to the area development district for use in for perhaps someone who wasn't able to afford a house before, so they could get that. We felt really good about that. But it's just a luncheon we have each year to put fair housing on the forefront. Did I say that accurately?
Yes, very much so.
Okay, well then tell me a little bit more about it. The date is Thursday, April the 14th.
Yes.
Yes.
At 11:30 a.m. And is this a benefit? Is there a fee to come in? Is it an informational luncheon? Tell me a little bit more about that.
It's not a benefit in terms of gaining any money for the Paducah Housing, for our organization. As Chairman said, our Paducah Housing, and when I say Paducah Housing, I mean housing in general, may be an issue to a lot of people. And it's very important that this organization represents that entire genre of fair housing, and so we want to make sure we put it on the minds of the people at least annually. The other thing I wanted to say was, in terms of any monies being exchanged, the only thing that will be exchanged financially will be the cost of the meal. The event is free. It will be at the W.C. Young Community Center on South 8th Street. Again, it is free to attend. The meal is $10 per person. And can I say what we're going to have?
Sure.
Okay.
It's always good.
It's always good. Janet Jones, who is with the Merriman House Domestic Crisis Center, is going to be our caterer this year. And so after all of the expenses for the catered meal is deducted, the balance of it is going to go to the Merriman House Domestic Crisis Center. And so we're taking our Fair Housing Luncheon to another level in that manner. But she's preparing crispy fried chicken breast and Caesar salad and homemade buttered mashed potatoes and homemade rolls with the butter that you can actually spread on the bread. And she's going to have a diversity, did you get that? A diversity of homemade desserts and sweet tea and poured ice water. And can't you just can't wait, can you?
I'm getting fatter just thinking about that.
And I can vouch, she cooks delicious. Being on the Merriman board, I can tell you that.
Since this is a long-running event, what kind of people do you see attending this event?
Bankers, realtors. If we're having a real good election year, we'll see candidates for office. But generally, people in the community who are involved in the housing industry, realtors. Did I say that correctly? Realtors.
Yeah.
And, so we'll get a broad spectrum of the people involved. People from the Paducah Housing Authority, city government. It's a diverse group and a well-attended event. So we've got room for more.
So is it really more for professionals in the housing industry, or is it for people who are looking to get a house?
It's for everybody. Part of it is education. So our panelists do speak to residents in the community about, for instance, fixing your credit score. What things to look for when trying to apply for a mortgage. What are some things to consider in finding the right realtor? We have people from financial institution coming this year that'll be preparing the residents if they're interested in looking for a mortgage or even refinancing a home, things to be aware of. We have realtors coming in, you know, how to pick the right one, what things to have in mind before you start going out looking for houses, because what good is it to find your dream home if you can't qualify for a loan? So it's educational. So anyone that's interested in purchasing a home, you know, we're going to have speakers there that'll be able to give them a lot of advice.
Well, you touched on one of my pet peeves, and you mentioned how to repair your credit score. And just let me say, you don't repair your credit score by going further into debt. And that is a trap that is set that you'll see all the time. Come to our place and buy something, we'll help you repair your credit score. You repair your credit score by paying your bills on time and using credit wisely. So
Correct.
I just had to throw that in.
Yes.
Well, and that's one of the things that we talked about last year. Joe Frampton was our speaker from Paducah Bank last year, and that's one of the things she talked about was predatory lending practices. But also, going on with what you said, he basically gave us an overview of what the financial market was going to look like in the next year or two. And this is basically those who have done what you just said, paid their bills on time and have good credit, are going to be able to get credit, and those that didn't aren't. And that's a big factor in the people that we deal with as far as housing is concerned.
And what other type of presenters do you expect this year, Martha?
We're going to have a realtor. We're going to have a mortgage lender from one of our financial institutions, our local institutions. We're also going to have the executive director for the Habitat for Humanity.
And that's a great organization for people who don't know. I believe President Jimmy Carter was highly involved in that.
Yes.
And they build houses, and then people who can't afford them get them at either low or no interest rates or very affordable housing. And so that would be something that you would be interested in as well as affordable housing, not just having access to the funds, but having access to housing that you can afford.
Yes.
Exactly.
Do you think the city is with its Fountain Avenue projects, do you think that they're helping the mission of the commission with those kind of things?
I think the City of Paducah is on track. Not only are they helping with the housing situation, but they're also trying to raise the standards of how we think about housing. They've been working diligently for several years on how to improve the outside appearances of homes and neighborhoods and city streets and that whole persona of what it takes to be a fiscal-minded, community-minded homeowner. And so I think the whole idea, that whole mentality has turned around, and I just think we're on an upswing, and I really do. I take my hat off to our leaders in our community.
Well, I know the areas that they have been interested in. I know they plan to expand into other neighborhoods, but the Fountain Avenue project has made that area look a lot better.
Yes.
And some people that I know have moved in to downtown because of the housing that's available there. So that kind of thing can't be bad. The other event that we wanted to talk about today, and it is the 5th annual Evening of Performance coming up in May. I feel like this has been a pretty successful event for the Human Rights Commission. Want to talk a little bit about its history before we talk about this year's specific event?
Please, Ms. Bell.
Well, thank you, Chairman Corner.
The founder and originator of the whole deal.
Well, and I appreciate that. We really have been an awesome team as it relates to this event. When it originated, it was the embryo, I might say, of something that the mayor and the city commissioner said several years ago, and that was that they wanted to see the Paducah Human Rights Commission add another layer to what we stand for and what we do in our community. And so we took the challenge. And so that additional challenge was the Evening of Performance. And so what we do is it's a threefold opportunity. The first one is to use a different approach to educate our community about the mission, the goals, and all of those things wrapped around human rights and the Paducah Human Rights Commission. The second layer is that we feature talented, gifted, anointed men, women, and children, individuals and groups who bring great talent to the stage. And we started out at Paducah Tillman Auditorium, and we've ended up at the Carson Center. And so we've had the opportunity to promote both of those venues. And then the third aspect is that people who normally don't go to venues like the Carson Center now have taken the chill off, and now they're comfortable coming to the Carson Center. And so many people who have attended our evening of performance have come to begin attending other programs and things that are going on at the Carson Center. And so it's just a good thing. I might also say that the City of Paducah co-sponsors this event. Now, this 5th annual will be at the Carson Center. Once again, we're so excited about that. We have 16 slots, and we'll take 18 if people will be very mindful about the time that has been allotted each act. We would like for people, as soon as you see this show airing, if you'll contact us at the information that will be shown on the screen. Soloist, vocal or dance, poets, duets, comedians, vocal ensembles and choirs, mimes, readers theater, dance schools in Paducah can participate, theater venues like Market House Theater, for example, church organizations, social organizations, people of all ages and ethnicities and races and backgrounds, and just holler at us because we really want to talk to you.
It's kind of like a Paducah's Got Talent show. I mean, last year we had everything from poets to comedians to rappers to Christian heavy metal bands.
Yes.
I mean, it was a great, diverse group.
And so, since you've got 16 to 18 slots available, I got to guess that it probably costs, and it's at the Carson Center, $20, $30 to get in, right?
No, it's
free.
Free.
In capital
That's the
letters.
best part.
That's
Yes.
good.
You can have an evening of entertainment and see our own local performers, and it's all free.
And as a part of your mission, you educate during this show
Absolutely.
as well.
Yes.
We're there with information. Our commissioners speak between acts and tell the public what we do and what we're about. And so it's a great opportunity for the public to learn about us, but it's also a great opportunity for the public to learn about the talent, the massive amount of talent we have in Paducah.
Can you give me an estimate about how many folks show up to see the performers?
Anywhere from over 500 to over 900.
Wow.
Yes.
It is, and sometimes people filter in and out, and so at some point I stopped counting. So I would say that it would be easily to say well over 500, and anywhere between that number and 900. Sometimes people will come in for the first half and leave, and sometimes they'll come in for the second half and leave, and so it's kind of difficult to get a count. Also, I want to say that Artisan Kitchen is going to cater our intermission refreshments once again this year.
I saw that, and I didn't know how that was going to integrate into it. So you have an intermission,
Yes.
and then people can go out and purchase.
No, that's
No.
all free.
It's
More
free.
too.
Yeah, we like
Yes.
saying that.
It's the best
food.
entertainment value in Paducah.
It really does
Absolutely.
Free
sound like-
entertainment.
It really does sound like a good deal.
Yes.
What kind of response do you get? Have you had, because I know this is you mentioned 2 layers, an educational layer. Do you get response afterwards saying, we didn't know this about the commission, and so do you think it's successful in doing what you want it to do?
It has proven to be very successful, absolutely. And we hope that, and of course with each year, Tom, you have new faces. And then you have those returning faces in the audience. And they return because they had such a ball the previous year. And so, and then word of mouth, of course, is a big deal, of course, especially in a beautiful community like ours. At the airing of this show, We want everybody to make sure that they begin to respond if they want to participate, if they want to recommend, give us a holler. So, because we like to plan well in advance, because we like to do things decently in order, and we do like to give our best to the community.
And you mentioned that they should contact you, but how do we do that if we want to be? Are there multiple venues of being able to contact, or phone numbers or addresses, or can they call the Human Rights Commission?
Yes.
How is the best way to let performers to let you know they're interested?
They'll be able to go by the Human Rights Office at City Hall to get a form, and then they can return that back to that office. They'll be able to download the registration form from the City of Paducah website, and then an email address will appear on the screen where they can contact me.
Is there any kind of audition? I assume that you might get way more than 16 to 18 people that
First
want
come,
to.
first serve.
Oh, okay. So that's important. then.
Yes, yes.
And we don't want to say the exact date because we don't that the applications will be available, but we can say now.
Now.
They are available
Yes.
now.
Yes.
So if you're watching this program, you can go down to the Human Rights Commission office. Where is it in City Hall?
City Hall on the first floor, it's Suite 106.
Okay, and I believe
It's right across from the post office.
right across from the post office. So you just walk in. It's either it's on the left, I believe. Is it?
It is on the left.
On the left. So you go in that office, pick up an application. They'll put a date on it and a time when you came in, and the first 16 to 18 people that come in are going to be performers on Friday, May 20th,
Yes.
2011.
Yes.
Beginning at 7
7.
p.m. and
Yes.
going until the performers are finished. You hope that will be by 9.
Yes.
Correct.
And the doors will open at 6 to the public.
Doors will open at 6. And again, the date for the Fair Housing Luncheon is Thursday, April 14th, 2011 at 11:30. And it's a free event, but if you want to eat lunch, there's a $10 cost for the luncheon, and it is going to be good.
Yes.
It's the best $10 meal you'll ever have.
Absolutely.
So that's two pretty big events that you guys are sponsoring, guys and ladies are sponsoring, and for the good of the Human Rights Commission and for the good of the community. Any last word?
Thank you, Tom, for letting us come on to plug it.
Yes, absolutely.
It's my pleasure.
Okay,
It's what we
appreciate
do, and we're glad to have you here. And we're glad to have you here with us too. Join us again next time on City Profile. I'm Tom Butler.